All right. Charlie Burris, Zach Ragan, a midweek version of the Big Orange A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast because Zach and I kind of got our schedule scrambled this week. I've been sick. You may be able to tell with my voice if you listen to this show frequently. Got some pretty serious stuffiness going on, so it's been fun. Fun time having to move all this around. So for this week, no live show, but we're gonna hop on here and do a quick preview of the Tennessee Bama game because Tennessee versus Alabama on Saturday, Zach. I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's the biggest regular season game in Tennessee, whatever. I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but it is huge. And it's a game that for Tennessee, I didn't really think was going to happen this season because what's on the line, potentially, not for sure, but if you stay the course and you win out, you have put your destiny in your own hands now where Tennessee could be a one seed. And that would be the first time in program history that would happen. And I mean, it's pretty great. The SEC is basically out of hand, but you won that last year. Who really cares? Um, so let's talk about it, Zach. What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean it's we're getting down to it, right? We've been spending all season talking about what this team needs to do to this time of year, getting close to tournament time, and here we are. And I think you gotta feel pretty good about where they're at, coming off of these last couple games, right? Like that Texas A&M win. I think we both kind of thought that was gonna be a loss, right? Like that game was
Yes,
set up for them to lose on the road. Pretty good team. The way the Aggies play, I feel like you answered a lot of questions with that win, and then I win against LSU. I know there's a lot of different opinions on social media about that win, but to me, after watching, we've spent our lives watching a lot of college basketball. That's a game, and a lot of people rightfully pointed it out as a trap game. I mean, that is a game that was dangerous, and I mean, Tennessee went and did what they had to do and scrapped out a win. And that to me, I don't care if they won by 1 point, 30 points. That was huge going down there and getting that win in Baton Rouge.
it seriously was. There's a lot to talk about, and we'll get right into it right after I tell you about the good folks at Zen Sports. There's only a couple days left in February, but that's enough time to get in on the VIP Players Courtside Club Sweepstakes for February. One grand prize winner will win 2 VIP tickets to the men's basketball conference championship game in Nashville, plus a $10,000 bonus bet on any tournament game or a $10,000 cash alternative. You can earn entries on every bet you place in February on Zen Sports and every dollar you wager. Plus, you'll earn 10 times the entries on parlay bets. Don't miss out on this. But if you're not the grand prize winner, there's also smaller prizes that include 2 tickets to any men's regional basketball tournament game and a $1,000 bonus bet, or a $250 cash prize. But that is not all. When you use code A to ZTN, when you sign up, ATOZTN, you'll receive 500 bonus entries. So head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for the full list of rules. And you can also earn that $100 no danger first wager that we've told you about for so long now. That is Zen Sports betting. Just got better. If you have a gambling problem, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee. $5 minimum wager to qualify for entry. Terms and conditions apply. Full contest rules at zensports.com/sweepstakes. No danger wager limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. A qualifying wager for wager entry must have minimum odds for any legs of minus 250. American odds for clarity minus 251 does not qualify. Zen Sports. Go download it. Go get in on the action. Shout out to them. All right. So, as you mentioned, they go to LSU in what could be described as the most classic trap game that you'll ever see, coming off of a really hard fought gritty road win that meant a lot, top 10 win over Texas A&M. That was a very impactful Saturday for Tennessee. And then they go to LSU, who has stunk it up this season, but this is the SEC. No team is easy to beat. And Tennessee walks in, that thing was never in doubt, not even close. And yeah, LSU, you really look at the way that team is made up, and there's not a whole lot of meat on that bone, so to speak, but still, to go in, take care of business, not have any funny business go down, no shenanigans. I mean, maybe you could say right there at the end where LSU kind of made a freak few shots and made it a lot, like Tennessee was up by like 12, 14 in the final couple of minutes, and LSU made some shots that got it down to like 6. And outside of that, I mean, it was done and dusted. You went in and you took your win. And that's impressive. So it leaves you in the spot now where if you win out, that number 1 seed is within your grasp. I maintain everything is about draw, and the number 1 seed doesn't do a ton for you, but what it could do is help you avoid a situation exactly like you had last year. You were borderline 1 seed last year and you missed out on it, even though you won the SEC a year ago. But what wouldn't have happened last year if you were number 1 seed? There would have been no Purdue waiting in the Elite Eight. You would have made it to the Elite Eight and had the number 2 seed to face instead of number 1 Purdue. So you can avoid a situation like that potentially. Maybe you get a little favorable draw here or there. I don't give any credence to like, oh, the number 1 seeds get some sort of favorable. That's all just a crapshoot when it comes down to the committee. But probably the biggest thing is it's just symbolic. Just, Rick Barnes has continued to do things, made it back to an Elite Eight. He has probably at this point, one of the greatest stretches in the history of Tennessee basketball under his belt. And this would just be a cherry on top. Obviously, the ultimate cherry on top being a Final Four if he could finally get there. But it would be nice. And Alabama's standing in your way, and they're really good, Zach.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge. I think the good thing about really this entire season for Tennessee, and you talked about the draw and what happens here if they beat Alabama, if they lose to Alabama, chances are you're going to be matched up at some point against a team in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight that you've already played in the SEC this season. I mean, that is the top teams in the country outside of a Duke, that will be lingering, which we've talked about Duke before. I think you can kind of make them one-dimensional, and that game's not as scary as it might seem. But these games, outside of the number 1 seed, win or lose, this Alabama game is going to make Tennessee more prepared for the tournament, whatever they run into. Obviously, you'd like to win that game, get the confidence. It's at home, so I mean that's huge. Just to get that win in front of your home crowd and really build some momentum going into the SEC tournament, the ACC tournament. I mean, it comes down to matchups. I mean, how do you feel about the way Tennessee matches up against this Alabama team? They're always well coached with Nate Oates. No matter what you think of him, it's always going to be a tough battle. But how do you feel like this matchup works out for Tennessee?
So far in Barnes' tenure, this matchup has been favorable to Tennessee. What was it, 2 years ago with when Alabama had Brandon Miller? You beat them in Thompson Bowling. I think they were number 1. You were like number 6 or 7 or something like that. Tennessee beats them. Then last year with the SEC title on the line, you walk into Tuscaloosa, and around this time last year, I think, beat them. And just the thing with the way that Alabama plays, it is just you make threes or you lose. It's not that simple, but it kind of is. Like this team for a bulk of this season, like Alabama doesn't play defense. And so if Tennessee can go in, run them off the 3-point line and they can't make threes, then it could be, Alabama could be toast as far as that goes. That being said, I've had my faith shaken a little bit because of these Kentucky games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because the way you're describing that, in theory, it's like, yeah, that plays out perfect for Tennessee. But we've seen games where opponents hit threes and Tennessee just doesn't hit shots.
Exactly. And when they do hit shots, you have a 57-point second half, and you beat Missouri. Missouri, a very a similar team, high volume. They try to get to the free throw line a lot, and Tennessee didn't really let them do that. But Tennessee kind of played their game and beat them. But then the 2 games against Kentucky, Tennessee kind of played their game and blew it both times, which at this point is just unconscionable. Kentucky almost lost at Oklahoma last night. Just feel like I'm banging my head against the wall every time I think about those 2 games. But this Alabama team is better than those Kentucky teams, or this Kentucky team. But it's a very similar team to what you saw last year, and you beat those guys in Tuscaloosa. So I definitely lean towards Tennessee winning this game. It's at home. Obviously, that's favorable for Tennessee.
Great time slot, too. We've talked about that before.
Yep.
4 p.m. time slot. Love that.
Yes. It's not too early. It's not too late. So I like that, too. If you make me bet on it, I'm definitely going Tennessee. in this one. I mean, they're nearly unbeatable at home outside of whatever this Kentucky team is. Good Lord. But I think this just shakes out towards Tennessee's favor. And I mean, I really think you look at like Grant Nelson down low for Alabama going up against Felix Akpar. Felix Akpar having an excellent season defensively, just has really been
And
impressive as far as that goes.
offense coming around too for him.
Yes, finally. I mean, has had a little, back to the basket action and had some really nice plays in that LSU game. And Grant Nelson, I don't think he's taken the step forward that Alabama probably wanted him to. And Mark Sears, who's sort of like Sakai Ziegler, has been there for 14 years and will never go away for whatever reason. He's really good, but it's on or it's off. Their last game, they made 22 threes, or something like that. It was like 20 plus. It was absolutely insane. And then, the next game, they won't make anything. Well, they're going to make threes. Make no mistake about that. But it can kind of be like they absolutely torch you. They beat Mississippi State by like 60 points. Or Tennessee that, can probably get them if it can play the typical perimeter defense that it does. I will almost say, and I want to look that up, how many threes did they actually hit in that last game against Mississippi State? It was absolutely ridiculous. Every time I looked, it was just a bloodletting that kept getting worse and worse for poor Mississippi State. Let's see. Box score here for Alabama. They've been 22. I did nail it. 22 threes in that game for Alabama. 22 of 45, almost 50% from three. On 22 made 3-pointers. Whew. I'll say they slingshot back in the other direction. I mean, 22 threes is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
They
that's all
slingshot
Tennessee
back in the other.
against LSU.
Yes.
Total.
I mean, so I think Tennessee is playing really good basketball, and Alabama also is. They just made 22 threes. But I'll say that they come back down to the mean a little bit. They're not going to make that many in Thompson Bowling. There's absolutely no way. And so I'll say that the Tennessee does. They do well enough. I think it's going to be close. This is going to be a grind them out, make a play at the end kind of a game, probably. Well, I don't know. I actually say that if Alabama's not making threes, you're going to blow these guys out of the gym also. So I might almost lean, if it ends up close, Alabama might have the advantage there because they definitely have more shot makers. But if you can stop them from hitting perimeter shots, this is blowout city to me. I don't know which way I'm leaning. I'll go close win just because statistically that's probably more realistic. But yeah, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel I felt pretty optimistic about Tennessee in a lot of games lately, and it's went the wrong direction, especially that second Kentucky game. I was very confident about. I'm not going to put that level of confidence on it. I think I'm with you. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think there will be stretches where Tennessee stretches out to maybe like a 12, 14-point lead, and Alabama hits some shots, and it gets down to like 6 or 4 or something like that. And I think Lanier, I mean, he showed at Texas A&M that at his best, he can be a guy that carries you. I mean, the consistency hasn't been there, but he can be that guy. And you got to think that having that game in that atmosphere on the road like that, scoring 30 points, like that's got to be a confidence booster. So I think he's going to be somebody that really helps you put this game away. And then Akpara, like you mentioned, his ability to score that he's been showing lately, scoring 15 against LSU. Those two things, I think Tennessee's going to be able to control the game. Like they're going to be in control of this thing. Like you said, Alabama's ability to hit threes is going to keep it close when Tennessee tries to pull away. I don't think they're going to be able to go on like a, 12-14-0 run and just put this thing out of sight with 10 minutes left to go in the second half. I think it'll be a fairly close game, like maybe kind of like that LSU game in a sense. Like it ends up the final score is a little bit closer than it was. But I think Tennessee wins something, 6, 8, 9 points, something like that.
Yeah, I would agree. It comes down, minute and a half left. You're up by 6. Alabama comes down. Oh, if they make a 3 here, they can
Yeah,
really
and they're
make
just
it something.
jacking up shots as soon as they get
Yes.
the ball type deal, and maybe some of them go in.
Yeah. And I could see, it comes down to a spot like that. They put up a
Hit your
3.
free
They miss
throws.
it. Hit your free throws.
Yeah.
Yes. That is so key. But as you said, Lanier emerging as somebody that you could potentially really lean on, because we've talked about it all season where it's just like, man, I just am not sure he's that guy. I'm not sure he's a guy that you can just go to like that. If he could grow in that way and become that guy, when it comes down to crunch time in a season like that, it's so important that you have a dude that can do that. And
I
man,
think
that would be huge.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think his DNA. The Dalton Connect comparisons we've heard all season. We've made them. We've talked about it. It's been the main storyline. Connect's DNA is just a little different for whatever reason. I think Lanier, going through the gauntlet of this SEC schedule, playing on the road, playing at Florida, playing at Texas A&M, even at Vanderbilt, just going through those games. Did they play at Vanderbilt? Was that, or was that just?
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, going through those games, those atmospheres, those adversities, by now, he's been through so many of those games. As tough as the SEC's been this season, I think what we saw against A&M is him being comfortable finally in that environment, knowing what to expect. It's not a surprise to him anymore. He knows what these games are going to be like, and that's what's going to be like in the SEC tournament, in the NCAA tournament against Alabama on Saturday. He knows exactly how this game's going to go. It's not going to be a game like when you're in North Florida and maybe you're blowing a team out and they just lay down. You get up by 15 and they're done. That doesn't happen in the SEC. We've seen that this season. So I think he had to go through a lot of that to be the best player he can be at this time of the year. And then that's what we've been hoping for all season. Still a lot of games left to play where he's got to show that he can consistently be that guy. But that game against A&M really has to give you some confidence that he can be a guy that helps carry this team in March.
And it definitely does. Man, that would just be so massive. I mean, you mentioned that.
It's a must, really. You got to have that guy.
It is, period. And, that game at Vandy was probably a huge growing spot for him, because that was where it came down.
Was that the free throw game?
The free throw game.
Yeah.
Vandy gifted Tennessee a way to get back into that game. I mean, all it was just Chad Lanier had to make 2 free throws. He made 1, and then he missed the second one to tie. So hopefully he has reached that spot where he can really be the guy. We're going to see. But to me, ultimately, this one, I think, comes down to defense. I think you can play a really ugly game with Alabama. And if you can play an ugly game with them, you're definitely winning.
I mean, that's Tennessee's game. They're make it ugly. Yep. Tennessee's probably going to win that game more often than not.
Exactly. All right. Charlie Burris, Zach Ragan. Sorry about this being it for this week. We will get back on the wagon next when I do not have a virus running through my body and all the other crap that happened this week. But hey, let's go win this game against Alabama. Anything else, Zach, before we bounce?
I think that should about do it. Let's have some fun Saturday and see how it goes.
Sweet. Let's do it. Again, Charlie Burris, Zach Ragan, A to Z Sports Big Orange Podcast. We will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.